Hello friends, welcome to Atruksha Classes Circle Code. So today we are going to see chapter number 1 from Science Part 1 of 10th standard. The name of the chapter is Gravitation. The name of chapter is Gravitation, which is the first chapter in your part Science Part 1 for standard 10. Now this is the first lecture. We have divided this whole chapter in few points. So today we are going to see the part 1 of this chapter. Let us start with gravitation. In generally, what is gravitation? Gravitation is a natural phenomenon that we observe around our surroundings. Now this phenomenon, this particular phenomenon was supposed to be discovered by Sir Isaac Newton. Sir Isaac Newton was the first discoverer of this principle or this natural phenomenon. Newton is an English scientist. He is from England. He has written a book in which he has published the theory of gravitation. The name of the book is Principia. So he has written a book called as Principia. Also, based on this Principia, he has supported or he has given solutions for the Kepler's three law. Kepler's three law were there before. Kepler has proposed three laws of motion, planetary motion, before Newton, but those were not supported. Those were not proved yet until this concept of gravitation was discovered by Newton. So Newton plays a very important role by supporting these principles of Kepler's three laws of motion. Then this discovery was very interesting. It was made once Newton saw an apple falling from the apple tree, and then he got lot many questions in his mind that why does apple fall vertically downwards? Why does not it make any angle or it goes somewhere else? Why does it fall vertically downwards? Due to these questions, he led to a chain of thought which ultimately resulted in the emergence of this gravitational concept. Now, while he was working on this principle of gravitation, these thoughts of gravitation, ultimately he also came with some thoughts like, if this force of gravitation is acting on the apple which is at a little bit height from Earth's surface, can this concept of gravitation or force of gravitation act on the objects which are very high, like for example the stars, the moon, the satellite, etc. Can they act on those objects which are very high? And during the search of answers for this question, he found yes, the force of gravitation is a unique and a major force which acts on the all objects in this universe. Okay. So let us move to the next point in your syllabus, next point in your chapter, the force and motion. So all of you know what is force. What is a force? The ability to do work. You can say force is an ability to do work. Then if force is applied, it brings upon motion. So force can change the speed, whatever the speed of the object, the initial speed. If it is 0, it can set into the speed. If it has initial speed, it can be changed to some more speed, or the speed can be reduced. So ultimately the speed can be changed, as well as the direction of motion can also be changed by applying the force. So speed has the force has these two effects. It can change the speed as well as direction. Now there is another term, that is circular motion. When an object is following a circular transaction or a circular orbit, it is called as a circular motion. When it is following a circular path on a circumference of any circle, it is said to be in circular motion. For example, if you tie a stone at one end of the string and hold the another end with your hand and you start revolving the string, so that motion will be called as circular motion. Or one more example could be the moon which is revolving around the earth, or the earth which is revolving around the sun. So all these revolving movements are nothing but the circular motion. Or the very simple example that we observe every day is the tip of the clock hands. For example, the minute hand, it is going through a circular motion. The tip of the clock hand or the minute hand or the second hand is continuously going through a circular motion. So any object which follows the circumference of any circle will be called as circular motion. So now, if there is circular motion, as we had already said, ki force gives birth to any motion. Force is the main backbone behind any motion. So if there is a circular motion, there has to be some force Now the force which creates circular motion is actually called as centripetal force. So centripetal force is the originator of the circular motion. So because of centripetal force, circular motion come into existence. So centripetal force is the force which is responsible for a circular motion. Now importance of gravitation force. Now as I had already told you, कि gravitational force is very important. Actually gravitational force is very weak force compared to the other fundamental force like nuclear force or electrostatic force or muscular force. The gravitational force is very weak, but the gravitational force between such a huge massive planets which are present in universe decide the structure and shape of this universe. So if gravitational force would have not been there, our shape of our universe would have not been maintained. We might have fallen on each other, the planets might have fallen on each other. So this structure, this well maintained structure of our planets, Earth could be there, Mars could be there, they are revolving in their own trajectories, they are not getting collided with each other. It is only because of this gravitational force which also acts as centripetal force. Okay. So yes, this was about the force and motion. Now let us move to the next point which has been discussed in your textbook. The next point is Kepler's law. So Kepler, based on Brahe's observation, a scientist was there called as Johannes Brahe. So Brahe has observed many planetary motions. He had made many readings and observations about the planetary motions. Based on those observations, Kepler, by studying those observations, had given 3 laws of planetary motion. The name of their laws were, first law was known as laws of orbit, second was known as law of equal area, third one was known as law of period. So in case of law of orbit, in the first law he states that planets which are revolving around the sun, planets keep revolving around the sun in a ellipse orbit, or elliptical orbit. So all of you know the elliptical orbit, the boundary of an egg is an ellipse orbit. A boundary of egg, if you imagine the boundary of egg, that shape is nothing but elliptical shape. So planets revolve around the sun in an elliptical orbit. Okay, now this elliptical shape has 2 focuses, so in plural language it is said foci. So there are 2 foci in this ellipse shape. So sun can be at any one of the foci. So planets revolve around the sun in an elliptical orbit or ellipse orbit with sun at one of the foci. So sun would be at one of the foci. So that is the law, first law of orbit, Kepler's first law. Now next law is known as laws of equal area. So here Kepler tells that if we imagine the line which joins planet and the sun, covers equal area or sweeps equal area in equal interval of time. So that was Kepler's second law. And now third law is of period. So any planet which is revolving around the sun takes a particular time to complete one revolution. That time is to be known as period. So time taken for one revolution around the sun is called as period of that planet. It's time period. Then there is a distance between that planet and sun. Now as we had already seen in the first law that this distance will keep on changing, hence this distance, a mean of this distance is taken, because sometimes the distance could be more, sometimes the distance could be less. So a mean distance is taken, and it is notified by a notation is given small r. So the third law tells that before going for the third law you should be aware about capital T. What is the meaning of capital T? It is period, time period. That is, time required for one rotation is called as time period. The time required by planet, the time taken by planet to complete one revolution around the sun is called as time period. That is capital T. And R is the mean distance of that planet from the sun. Now the third law tells that the square of time period is directly proportional to the cube of the mean distance. So these are Kepler's 3 laws. Now let us move to the main concept of this chapter, Newton's law of gravitation. Let us move to the next and the main concept of this chapter, Newton's law of gravitation. So let us first understand the statement. So Newton states that every object in this universe attracts every other object in this universe. So every object in this universe attracts every other object with a particular force, which is directly proportional to the products of their masses. That is mass of first object and mass of second object. We have to take product between them. So the particular force of attraction is directly proportional to the product of masses of these two objects and inversely proportional to the square of distance between them. Okay, so in proportionality language you can mention Newton's law of gravitation like this way. The force of gravitation, that is F, is directly proportional to m1 m2, that is mass of first object and mass of second object, and inversely proportional to r square. R is the distance between object 1 and object 2. Now if this proportional sign, we replace it by is equal to sign. If we make an equation, we have to add a constant called as capital G. So Newton's law of gravitation in the form of equation can be stated as capital F, which is gravitational force, is equal to capital G, m1 m2, m1 being the mass of first object, m2 is the mass of second object, divided by r square, where r is the distance between object 1 and object 2. And now this capital G, which we had introduced in this equation, is called as gravitational constant. So name of capital G is gravitational constant. You can add like this, universal gravitational constant. Now as the name says, it is universal gravitational constant. Universal, that means it remains same everywhere in the universe. So if you are changing the planets, then also it is going to remain the same, and its value is constant. So name of capital G is universal gravitational constant. Now its value, numerical value, is 6.67 into 10 raised to minus 11. 6.67 into 10 raised to minus 11, which is going to be constant everywhere, as it has been said, it is universal constant. So this numerical value is going to remain the same. Now what are the units? You have to keep into your mind the SI units of this capital G, and they are Newton meter square per kg square. Sometimes you will see them to be written like this way. Nothing to worry about this. The per kg square is just taken in the numerator, and hence the index is changed to -2. Newton meter square kg raised to -2. Both the units are same. Now these are the SI units of capital G. So now this G is a very important concept. All of you should be aware of this capital G. Now, so we had seen Newton's law of gravitation. Now let us move to the next concept, that is UCM, or magnitude of centripetal force. Now UCM stands for uniform circular motion. So circular motion in which the speed of the object is constant will be called as UCM. Okay. Now suppose, for example, if there is a circular motion, that means there has to be centripetal force, because without centripetal force circular motion does not exist. So if there is circular motion, that means there exists centripetal force. Now you had studied in your previous standards that the formula for centripetal force is mv square upon r. So the formula for centripetal force is mv square upon r. Okay. Circular motion, again you do remember. For example, a planet can be taken for example. So in case of planet, mass m is the mass of that planet, capital T is the period taken for one revolution, r is the distance of that planet from sun. Then in generally the formula for speed is equal to distance upon time. In case of circular motion, the distance traveled will be equal to the circumference of that circle. In case of circular motion, the distance traveled will be equal to the circumference of that circle. So it is 2 pi r. It is 2 pi r, and time taken is capital T. Time taken for one revolution is capital T. Hence it is 2 pi r upon T. So using this equation we can conclude that this force, that is centripetal force or this gravitational force, is inversely proportional to the square of distance. Okay. So up till here we had completed. We will be stopping here. So the next part of your chapter will be covered in the next lecture. So we had almost covered the 1/4 of your chapter number 1, gravitation. Thank you students. If there are any queries, you can put into the comments. You can ask the questions in the comments. Those will be answered in the next series of lecture. Thank you all of you.